How's
So,
things?
w- good. Yeah. Crazy busy, but doing good. How about on
Good.
your end?
It's been interesting with some of the phone calls we've gotten in the last couple of weeks. So
Yeah, no doubt.
yeah,
Part
yeah,
of working for a congressman, you get to field a lot of those calls from the
yeah,
district.
yeah, you do. Yeah, yeah. Some
Yeah,
are on the scary side and some are normal.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, when I did that work, we could always kind of predict what was coming our way based on the headlines of the day and you
exactly.
know, and sometimes the lunar cycle, so
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So thank you, Josh. So yeah, you just do what you can do.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, you you try not to get into any confrontation. You just listen, and if there's something they want sent to DC, you send it.
right, right. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting days ahead. So
Yep, for sure.
yeah. So well, for those of you who are starting to join us, thank you. I put a couple questions on our opening slide. Um, Our presenter lives and works in Omaha, so I'd like her to know where people are joining us from today in greater and outstate Nebraska. So, and then the second part of that is why do you participate in HomeNE? So, if you wouldn't mind just sharing some of that information with not only Angela, but myself as well. And I see Angela has joined us. Are you able to hear me, Angela?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you. So, yeah. I see we're getting a couple responses in our chat box to my opening questions here. So we'll let you kind of look at those. I saw Hastings and Val, who works for Congressman Smith, reports to DC what's going on in the third district. And he's in Scotts Bluff at the office out there. We had the congressman speak a few years ago. So that was an enjoyable presentation. I see Grand Island is represented. So I should have asked about temperatures, but I don't think I want to know. Yeah, as you join, please let our presenter today know where you're joining from and maybe why do you participate in HomeNE. It hit me this weekend that February 15th was our very first webinar back 7 years ago in 2018. So we have quite a few people that join us each and every month. I see Minden. Welcome, Larry. Okay. Sean's developing a program to build workforce housing in Western Nebraska. Nice. Thank you. Yeah, why do you participate in these monthly webinars? I heard it's what did you say, Val? 18? I've already forgotten what you told me. It's in the double
Yeah,
digits above
it's
zero.
18. Yeah, it's 18, Lori.
Yeah, send that our way.
You got it.
Okay, so not quite 2 o'clock, so we'll give more people a chance to join us. So I see that the number continues to creep up, but tell us where you're joining from and why do you participate in HomeNE? And even if you're from out of state, we'd love to know that too. Okay, Michelle is joining us from Aurora, so welcome, Michelle. Hardington, welcome to Miranda. I see that Grant, Nebraska, out in the North Platte area. My geography is failing me to know exactly where from North Platte.
Straight south of Ogallala.
Okay, Sharon comes to the rescue because she used to work in that area. Okay, we'll just give it a couple more minutes, but if you haven't told us where you're joining us from today, and or why do you participate in HomeNE, we'd love to see that. Larry joins to learn. I appreciate that. We should always be in a learning mode. We'll give it just another minute or two. Mary from Superior said that HomeNE spurs new ideas for her from sometimes from always from presentation and sometimes from the questions. So thank you, Mary. And Ember wants to be informed about various housing topics. So thank you both for sharing that. We love to hear from all of you. So Don is joining us from Simcoe, one of our fellow economic development districts up in the northeast part of the state. We'll give it one more minute and then we'll get started because we have a lot of great information from our presenter today to share with you. So Michelle's listening in to learn and then share a bit about a housing and workforce effort occurring in Nebraska. And Christine is from Northeast Nebraska. Welcome. Good information every month and contacts to follow up with is a huge plus. So yes, that's one of the things about HomeNE. We want this to be a learning network that you can reach out to each other directly and learn from one another. So we so appreciate what you do apart from participating here. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to give our presenter ample time and just hear a lot of good information from her. So welcome to the February 2025 edition of HomeNE. Thank you for joining us today on this statewide learning network. I'm Lori Ferguson. I'm a community consultant with South Central Economic Development District in Holdridge, and we frequently refer to our organization as SCED. We speak a lot of acronym soup in our office and around the state, but SCED does serve as the lead agent for HomeNE, which is designed for people from all across Nebraska. And we notice that new people continue to register each and every month. And so if you are new or haven't joined us for a while, I've added to your slide presentation today the purpose of HomeNE. And this kind of gives you an idea of what drives each and every one of us that participate in HomeNE on a monthly basis. HomeNE's purpose is to provide a setting that provides you face-to-face and online opportunities to interact and engage with each other around the topic of housing. And that was just shared a little bit by one of our attendees in the chat box. And then we also want it to be a tool or an agent that empowers and encourages you to apply what you learn through presentations such as today in your community. So thanks for joining us. We greatly appreciate it and love to hear from you, either stories for future topics or just what's going on in your community. So today we are joined by Angela Smith. Angela is a senior director at Spark, and I'm going to let her share a little bit more about that in a little bit. But Spark is located in Omaha, and its mission is to help profoundly transform disinvested neighborhoods into thriving and prosperous communities. So I love that mission statement. I'm eager to hear more from her today. But before she shares, I've asked Sharon, our executive director here at SCED, to set the stage for Angela's presentation. So Sharon, would you do that for us, please?
Well, I will, but right now I'm kind of Google-eyeing this mission statement as I'm working on getting things ready to talk about what SCED does in some other areas. And I'm thinking, that's nuisance abatement. That's some of the demolition we're doing. I'm going to steal some of that, Angela. So let me tell you a little bit why Spark is here today. First of all, it's thank you to the power of connections through HomeNE. Ryan Zimmermoss was formerly of DED and had participated in HomeNE. And he connected with me at the 2024 Governor's Conference and suggested that I connect with Spark regarding their Developers Academy. I had heard mention of it, but I did not have a good understanding. And we were able to have a call in November. And I so appreciate what they offer to individuals that want to embark in real estate development, which those individuals get to define exactly what does real estate development mean. So you'll be interested to hear what it does mean to some of them, I think. I was aware of this need for this kind of training. We've been participating in the central region of the 6th Region 1 Nebraska. And on my first call with the workforce group, the discussion was all about we have to house any workforce that we recruit. So maybe we should start with training for the trades. And my first call with the Central Region Housing Group was all about the need for workforce to rehab those houses or construct new houses. So we were all kind of going in the same direction with the need for housing development and redevelopment. So I hope Angela's presentation will get your creative wheels turning. She's going to be talking about what they're doing for Omaha and really focused on Omaha. But I wanted to spark some ideas for addressing construction workforce solutions in your area. So Angela, if you'd tell us a little bit about yourself as you get started, it's all on you now.
Thanks. I love the plug there. You said Spark and you didn't even know that you said Spark, or maybe you did know that you said Spark, but that's exactly why we exist. We're not experts at everything or every geography, but we exist to kind of spark that idea and help the experts in the communities that we serve build it. So I just want to say thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to see you all today, or some of you who are brave enough to venture on camera. If you're not, I'm not shaming you. I'm usually one of you. I'm an introvert, so this is outside my comfort zone, but I'm just grateful to be here. I am from the Omaha Metro. I've lived in Omaha for a very long time, and I have been with Spark for the last 6 years. I just celebrated my 6-year anniversary. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my PowerPoint so that I stay on time. And I know that I had a slide in here with my face on it, so I can share more about that then. Are you all able to see this okay? Fantastic. So I am the senior director at Spark. I do a little bit of everything, but one of the greatest things that I've ever done at Spark is to help create the program I'm going to talk about today, which is the Developer Academy. I also run our CDFI, our loan fund, which is something I'll also talk about as a way to support the developers that go through the Developer Academy. And along the way, over the 6 years since we are a tiny organization, I've done a little bit of everything. So if you ever just want to connect on running a nonprofit or being a jack of all trades within a nonprofit, I'm happy to have conversations with you about that as well. As was mentioned, this is our mission. We left it vague intentionally because we didn't really know what we were going to be. Spark was only created in 2016 as an effort out of the Greater Omaha Chamber as a way to activate all of the amazing neighborhood plans that have been written and drafted over the years. So we wanted to keep our mission able and nimble to focus on a variety of things. While I am going to be talking about the Developer Academy and our impact on housing today, it's important to note that Spark does a lot of things that are outside the housing realm as well, including this looping video of a trail that we've helped to construct, which runs from North Omaha and will soon connect North Omaha to the downtown riverfront area. So we work outside of housing as well. Just wanted to mention that. So I'm going to jump right in. communities like North Omaha and many of the communities that you come from, thank you for sharing where you're from, each face their own challenges when it comes to what they need regarding housing. In North Omaha, where we do a lot of work, we see a lot of vacant and scattered infill lots. And we also know the need exists for affordable housing and for workforce housing in this community. That may look different in the neighborhood or the community where you reside. But the important thing is that the tool or the way by which we're trying to address the issue is very specific, that it's community based. Everything we do at Spark is from the community. And that's the model that we're putting forth here. So I hope that you'll see that as I share a little bit more about the program and the different pieces we've built around this program to help support our work in North Omaha and in South Omaha. So the problem that we're facing is that the economics to make housing development or real estate development in distressed communities is unprofitable. It's not rocket science. It takes a lot to build these days, and the houses that we built are not able to sell for a lot. That is an issue that communities face across the country and definitely across the state of Nebraska. The solution that we wanted to bring to that is definitely a community-based solution. We have seen this model be successful in other communities across the country, and so we wanted to test it out here in Omaha. We want to activate an army of small-scale, mission-oriented entrepreneurial developers with the intimate local knowledge that would help their projects be successful, help the community access the housing that they build, and maintain the integrity of the neighborhoods that we're working in. To do this, we've kind of built an ecosystem. And while I am going to spend most of my time talking about the Developer Academy, because that's what was teased to you all, I want you to see how it fits in part of the ecosystem of programming that we offer, because education alone won't solve it. There has to be some hands-on training that happens along with some financing to make the result that we want, which is more housing in our community. So I am going to talk at length about the Developer Academy. Well, not at length, because I won't do that to you, but I will talk a little bit more in depth about the Developer Academy. But I will mention our new program, the CODA Apprenticeship Program, as well as our mission at Spark Capital. So the Developer Academy. As I mentioned before, this is a strategy that has been implemented across the country. Many of us coming to it on our own or seeming to come to it on our own. I actually just participated in a call earlier today through the Opportunity Finance Network of more than 40 different communities across the country who have put forth their own version of this kind of programming. If you're familiar with the Incremental Development Alliance, they have a version. Grow America has a version. Our version is kind of a blend of the two of those. And like I said, there are many other iterations of this out there. The idea behind it is to put a community focus on revitalizing neighborhoods so that the folks that are at the table to vision it, to build it, and to financially benefit from it are the folks who are from the community that's being served, rather than outside developers coming in and plopping a development down. We want to train up and support folks who live and work and love their neighborhoods. So the Developer Academy, as it exists in Omaha, started in 2020. We launched it with a partnership through a national CDFI called the National Development Council, which is now Grow America. And we have an intensive classroom-based model where we provide education and also connections, because those are the two of the key ingredients to successful development. We are focused on small-scale emerging developers, folks who have maybe only flipped a house or maybe have a small portfolio of homes that they rent out, but are seeking to do a little bit more in their community. People often ask us to define emerging developers. and the definition changes based on who I'm talking to, if I'm going to be honest. I will say most of the folks that we engage have less than 10 years of experience in real estate. Some of them are very, very new to it. So we operate, like I said, a very intensive educational week-long class, and we limit it to folks, a cohort of between 10 and 20 individuals so that we can really facilitate some connections and some peer-based mentoring for those who go through the class. We have launched this program successfully through a partnership with Freddie Mac in additional markets. So we have launched in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in Baltimore, Maryland, and also Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We are in talks with folks in Des Moines to help them launch one. And we are ourselves partnering with counties, Washington County, Dodge County, and Sarpy County to do what we're calling a Greater Omaha Developer Academy in 2026. This is actually one of the funded initiatives through the 6th Region 1 Nebraska initiative from the Department of Economic Development, is our work to expand the DA to serve Greater Omaha. So we do have some track record and some experience. If this is a model that you feel might fit in your community, we can be a resource to help you get one started. A little bit more into the nitty-gritty about the class. Like I said, it is an intensive week-long course. We operate ours as a Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Madness or roller coaster of a training. It's a lot to put on, but I feel like the folks who go through that week, one, have demonstrated that they're willing to take a week off of work, because most of the folks that we engage in this have jobs that are not even related to real estate, or if they are related to real estate, they still have to find time to join us and be there. We do have some markets that opted to do it over a weekend. So they did a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday option so that they could hit more folks who do have to take time off of work. And that was actually very, very successful. I was super worried that they were going to have nobody show up on Saturday or Sunday, but they did, because the folks who enroll in a class like this really, really want to be there. It is a competitive application process, the way that we run the program. It does cost some money. We offer scholarships for those who need them, not full scholarships, because we want to make sure that folks understand real estate costs money and you have to have some skin in the game. And we offer it currently only once per year in Omaha. As we were getting started, we were offering it twice a year, but we have to be mindful of the folks who are going through the class. Once they get done, they still need a lot of support. So we've limited it now to just being one class per year, so that we can more successfully support those who've been through the class when they're done. Some more specifics. The reason we're doing this is to provide access to training in the fundamentals of real estate development. There are a lot of classes out there online. There are a lot of classes embedded in learning institutions like UNO or Metro, but we wanted to offer a very accessible format for folks who might not feel comfortable or have the funds or resources to participate in a longer, more in-depth program. The training focuses on real estate financing models, but we do cover, as you'll see in the next slide, kind of, I call it the soup to nuts version of this is what real estate development looks like. Here's how you start. Here's how you kind of get to the end. The road that you take to do that is very, very bumpy and windy, and it's an iterative process, but we at least cover all of the topics. That said, we do spend a lot of time on the financing models because that's really the nut that we're trying to crack, right? How do we do this affordably in our community? In addition to the knowledge that comes to participants, we provide an equal time and effort level to introducing them to people. I don't know if your community is like Omaha, but we are very close-knit, and it's all about who you know. And when you're doing real estate development, you have to know a lot of people. All of the individual professionals that you deal with, along with folks at the city and the state and the bank. And so we bring all of those resources, and by resources, I mean people, to the class. And we introduce our participants to these folks who they're going to be working with. So I feel like the knowledge that is gained is equal to the connections that are made in the class. We do not, so some of the models that we researched when we were starting back in 2020 were very academic and very class-based, and they had, tests after each kind of topic. And we were like, no, that's not our jam. We're not going to do that. So we implemented a model that was a capstone pitch, because we wanted folks to apply the information that they learned in class to a real life project so that they had a leg up and they could get started when they were done. So folks go through the week-long course with us, and then we take a 2-week hiatus where they're working on their own with a mentor that we set them up with the instructors from the class. And then we reconvene on the end of that second week, and we host a graduation ceremony and a project pitch. It's not a competition. Some venues across the country have opted to make it more like a Shark Tank thing. I really enjoy the camaraderie and the support that happens when folks are cheering each other on rather than competing. So in the Omaha market, we still just do this as a way for folks to share what they've learned. We assemble a panel of investors, bankers, friendly folks from the state and the city who can give feedback on the pitches that are presented. We know that they're not great because they've only had 3 weeks to do this, right? A week to learn and then 2 weeks to put together a 10 to 15 minute presentation. But we really like to see how they've utilized the information and the resources that we've given in class to put together something real. And I really think that capstone helps them understand the benefits of the class, right? Once they get through that capstone project, they feel ready. They feel a little bit more confident to go off on their own. Like I said, the key outcomes for the actual class are those increased knowledge about concepts about real estate development, and then increase in relationships that will help them. Ultimately, though, we track long-term outcomes that are access to financing for projects. So after they go through this, how much are they able to secure from a bank or from local grantors? And then how many things do they build? What do they build? Who do they build for? So those are kind of the long-term outcomes that we're tracking. Here's a little bit more information on the topics covered. Like I said, I call this the soup to nuts. If we were doing, real estate as a linear process, we would cover all of these things, and one would happen right after the next. In reality, we let folks know a lot of these things are happening at the same time. We use the metaphor at the very beginning of the class to help them understand the difference between a developer and a builder, or a developer and a general contractor, because several of them come in confusing those terms. I know I came in confusing those terms 6 years ago when I started at Spark. And so I always use the metaphor of the developer is the juggler who's keeping all of the different balls in the air, and is the person that all of those balls will fall on if something goes wrong, because they're the ones who are assuming the risk. One of my colleagues, Ryan, who Sharon mentioned, is much more eloquent, and he talked about it as the conductor of the orchestra, which is a much nicer metaphor. But having seen a lot of deals happen, I think the juggling is more realistic. Anyway, we talk about the development process, the role of the developer, who's on your development team. We go through each of those phases through pre-development, financing. We spend a lot of time on financing both single family and multifamily so that they can see exactly how underwater their projects are going to be when they build in their neighborhood, and then talk about how do we fill that gap. We do a great session on how to apply for loans, and we bring in bankers from local community banks who are the first folks that they're going to call when they're ready to secure a construction loan. We talk about construction management and how to mitigate risks, property management if they're going to hold on to these properties long term. We also do a lot of work with our partners in the community to talk about how to support them as small businesses. While these are real estate developers, they're also oftentimes launching their own small business. So what are the resources and the financial supports available in the ecosystem to support their business as they're making their way? And then we rely on our nonprofit partners as well as NYFA to talk about what those homebuyer resources are. So what are the subsidies that they as a developer can access? And then what are the subsidies that homeowners or home buyers can access to be able to afford the product? And then we just do a lot of discussion about local market context. Like I said, these are all individuals who are from the communities that they're trying to develop. So a lot of times we're just listening. We're sharing space for them to talk about what's going on in their neighborhood, what the needs are in their neighborhood, and then just listening and amplifying that message. So here's just a kind of a snapshot of the impact we've seen thus far. Like I said, we've had 7 cohorts go through the class since 2020. It's 98 individuals who have graduated the class. Of that, only about 35 are actively developing, 35%. And the reason for that is people come in with a bunch of different kinds of readiness levels for one, and capital for two. And some folks come in and are like, oh man, this is not for me. I know I would have been one of those people. So we have some folks who are completely off and never going to do this. We also have some folks who've transitioned and are working for other developers in Omaha, which is a great way to do it and learn it without having the financial risk. We've had through that kind of ongoing reporting where we touch base with individuals. You all know real estate development is a long and slow process. So it took us a while to get some traction with those longer term outcomes. But we do an annual outreach campaign to touch base with our developers, and you'll see in a few slides how we try to keep up with them and continue to support them after they've graduated. But here's some of the roll-up totals. We've seen over $125 million in loans secured from our graduates, $39 million secured in grant funding, a lot of that from the DED, $1.6 million in land acquired. And then across all 4 markets, this is a stat from our Freddie Mac partners, over 1,000 units of housing. So that's in Omaha and Baltimore and Tulsa and Milwaukee. Okay, so that's kind of the overview of the Developer Academy. When I said, and there'll be time for questions at the end, so feel free to drop them in the chat. Only 35% of the folks who go through the class are ready to develop and are actively developing. And then there's a group who don't ever want to develop after they've been through the academy because it's way too hard and way too risky. There's a good chunk of folks in the middle who want to do this, but need a little bit more support. And this is why we created a kind of complementary program last year called CODA, or co-development. Through CODA, we convene Emerging Developer Academy graduates or Emerging Developer Academy folks who haven't been through the class, and we partner up on a project. Bowie, my executive director, likes to refer to this as the residency portion of med school. So you've been through the class, but you need some hands-on experience. That's what CODA is. And so we are currently launching our first 2 CODA projects. One is a single family for sale unit of housing that we're going to be building from scratch. And the other is a donated building that is going to be a multifamily rental project with the goal of the developers who are in the CODA program with us eventually owning the building after a period of 5 to 10 years. So we're going to be going through that process with them together. And the reason we want to do that is we can leverage our nonprofit status to help secure some much needed subsidies like the Affordable Housing Trust Fund dollars. and so that we can be there to help them as they work through all of the roadblocks that come with building or redeveloping property. The folks who have been selected, again, as a competitive application, trying to match make partners, as well as, what connection do they have to the geographies that we're working in. Folks who are working on a for sale product will receive just a flat developer fee once that unit is sold. And then folks who are working on that rental property, like I said, are going to increase their equity stake and their ownership, and hopefully one or both of them will own the building 10 years from now. So that's a really cool new development. Happy to chat more with you if you think that's something that you want to launch in your community. The other thing I wanted to mention is we have our own HomeNE program. We don't have a clever name. We call it our deep dives. We've been doing these since 2020. We used to charge money, but we are free and open now. They are 1 to 2 hours on the second Wednesday of the month. You are all welcome to attend that. These are singular topic sessions, much like HomeNE is. We have one coming up on ADUs. We have one coming up on modular housing, lead-free housing. You're all welcome to attend. And Deanna is going to drop in the chat the Eventbrite registration. You just have to register. And then even if you're not able to attend, you'll get a recording of it because these are held online via Zoom, just like you all's programs. So please come to those. It's a great way for folks to get their feet wet in the Developer Academy if they're interested in applying in the future, but it's also a way for us to stay connected to folks who've been through the Academy and continue to provide both knowledge and connections. We also offer something called build sessions. These are in-person sessions based out of Omaha, and they are more about hands-on learning. So we've done some where we go and we look at a vacant lot and then we all daydream together and figure out what we should build there. We've done one where we heard from community engagement experts on how to do community engagement, how not to do community engagement around their real estate development project. So these can be a variety of topics. You're welcome to attend these as well. We only do one of these per quarter. And then the other way we stay in touch is through socials. So we try and do even more networking for folks who've been through the class. So we'll meet up at a bar or some other establishment and invite bankers, and everybody kind of reconnects and we learn what each other have been up to, and we also do some great networking. It's also a way for us to stay in touch with developers and learn about what they've been doing. The last thing that I want to touch on is kind of that third piece in the ecosystem of us supporting housing development and real estate development in Omaha, and that's our financing arm. So we built out the Developer Academy program while we were building out our loan fund. We have a roughly $10 million loan fund. We offer $300,000 to $1 million loans for real estate development, redevelopment loans, construction loans, rehab loans, acquisition loans, and bridge loans. We are only a short-term lender. As we build our capital stack, we hope to develop a permanent or mini-perm financing option. We're a gap financing mechanism. Our goal is that folks go through the class, maybe go through CODA, have their real estate project. We've connected them to a local banker, but they have a short gap or a small gap to fill, and then Spark Capital can come in and support their project. I think that is it. I did want to introduce Deanna Goodwin is on the call with me. She is my partner in crime. She is our educational specialist who this show couldn't run without. So
thanks, Angela. Hi, everybody.
Say hi. But we're happy to kind of take any questions that you might have, and just want to say thanks for listening. Like I said, we have helped launch this in other communities. We are working with Freddie Mac to make the curriculum that we use open source. So that would be a free resource that you could take and run with. And we are making sure that the model that we put forth works in whatever type of community you want to bring it to. So urban, rural, it's going to work, or could work for you. I'm going to stop talking now.
Thank you, Angela, and welcome, Deanna. We've got a couple questions here. We do also have a bonus session for you as part of HomeNE today. So I'd like to maybe address these couple questions and then turn it back over to Sharon here for our next participant. But we've got a couple questions from Meg here. Do you talk about affordable housing in the Developer Academy and how these developers can create affordable housing in their community?
Yes, we talk a lot about housing affordability because I think folks get tripped up on affordable housing, meaning low income housing. And what we believe is that everybody deserves affordable housing, regardless of your income. Nobody should be paying more than 30% of what they earn. So we talk about it in that lens, but we do go in depth into the type and accessibility of the subsidies that are needed to build homes for individuals on the lower income earning side of things. In Nebraska, as you know, a lot of those resources are geared toward housing nonprofits. One of the goals of our organization is to help open those up to emerging developers as well, those revenue streams. Which also part of the reason why we created CODA. So some of those funding streams that can support affordable housing are viable to emerging developers if they partner with us in their on our nonprofit status. But yeah, we talk about it a lot on both the development subsidy side and then also on the homeowner or the renter subsidy side, so that they can really maximize all of those resources to help it build out. I would love to say that our program has figured it out. We haven't. Affordable housing is a really hard issue and it's different in every community. So please don't by any means think that this is a cure-all or it takes work. But talking about the different resources, bringing in those funders so that they can learn about the developers that are in our class is definitely one of our strategies to finding and maximizing and increasing the subsidies that we can connect them to. Okay.
One thing you mentioned, and then we've got another question, but I wanted to just bring this up. You mentioned only 35% are active in development. I think it's a win even for those who aren't, because they found out in time or at the right time that real estate development was just not for them. So I think they're a win in your win column as well.
Oh, we definitely count them as a win. We've had people come in with property that they're trying to develop, and at the end of it, what they're doing is they're selling it to another developer in the class, and they're like, "This is not me," and that's a great outcome because we've saved them a lot of stress, a headache, and maybe a bankruptcy.
Yeah, because this is not a passive job to be a real estate developer, that's for sure. So, Michelle had a question about CODA. Is CODA Omaha part of the building or rental house, or is that one of the other locations? I might need some clarity around that question, Michelle. If you're,
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
could you open your microphone and give us
Oh,
a
Angela. Yeah, Angela, I thought when you were speaking about the CODA program that you had a building and a rental house that you guys were working on. And I just wondered if those were the building and the rental house were in Omaha or if they were in one of your other locations.
Sure. Yeah, no, we have we have a vacant lot that's going to be a single family for sale housing unit. And then we have a building that we're renovating that will be rental. And both of those are located in Omaha.
In Omaha. Okay.
But I will say we're also looking at a model where we can, it's going to be less staff intensive, I feel like, where we partner up Developer Academy graduates with existing really great real estate developers who are already firing on all cylinders so that they're kind of mentoring or learning, but also having some sort of financial buy-in to that developer's project. When we started in 2020, I was blown away. The people who supported the program the most were the competition. There were other real estate developers who were like, yes, we need more of us. We need more people doing this because there's a very small pool of people who do this across the state. And they're not all going to be in the game forever, right? So they want to train up the next generation. So if that's something that you think that you can launch in your community, it would require very few resources because you're just making that connection. but it's still a way to help activate property, get people experience, and then either kind of replenish the workforce in that area, or have them match make for a job, or have them trained and going off and doing their own thing. But yeah, short answer to your question, both of those are in Omaha for now.
Thank you. You mentioned working with Freddie Mac, I believe, to make your curriculum open source. Is there a timeline in place for that if somebody
Yeah.
wants to tap into that?
It will not be available until 2026.
Okay.
There will be some strings attached to the Freddie Mac version of it, but we're doing our own version at the same time. So the Freddie Mac version is just going to require you to do some reporting, which you should be doing anyway because you want to show outcomes on that project or that program. But yeah, it's not going to be available until 2026.
Okay, thank you. So there may be other questions for Angela, but I do want to reserve some time for our bonus session here today. So Sharon, I'm going to let you take over and give us a segue.
All right. Well, I mentioned the central region of the 6th Region 1 Nebraska, and we had 3 priorities. I talked about workforce, talked about housing, and then we also had childcare, which was the one that was funded. But as you all know, across the state, those priorities that maybe weren't funded with the ARPA funding are still continuing. And so Michelle Lupkin is joining us today. She is part of that Central Region Workforce Group, and their pitch to the whole Central Region was about trades on the move. And I've asked her to give us a sneak peek of this concept. It's still being developed and in process of getting their funding, but so it'll be a really good HomeNE full story when it's fully functioning. But Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you for joining us, and I'll let you start by just giving us a little bit about who you are.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Well, good afternoon. My name is Michelle Lubkin. I'm a native of Nebraska who lived and worked with youth and those careering in Southern California and Nebraska for over 24 years. Majority of my past 20 years have been involving promoting trades. Recently, I made this career shift into regulatory and compliance work at Hamilton Telecommunications in Aurora, and people are like, what are you doing? But thankfully, in my first month, my bosses came to me and they're like, hey, there's this amazing group of professionals on a mission to kind of evolve housing and workforce opportunities in Nebraska. Will you join us? And then I got part of 6 Regions 1 Nebraska. So that's a little bit about me, but how this all worked is, those of you in the room, have you heard or seen a need for more housing in Nebraska?
No.
Could you build more housing if you had skilled and trained workers in trades like construction, electrical, plumbing, heating and air, welding? I'm betting your answer is yes to both. And I'm sure that you're aware of that Nebraska's economy relies on these industries, these types of trades, and learning a trade offers many financial, professional, and personal growth opportunities for the state. Yet, in my years of work, most of our trade programs are still not full, meaning there's plenty of room for more people to be in these trades and learning the skills. And the state of Nebraska has made great efforts to try to entice youth to go into the trades, to do re-careering opportunities. MPPD got involved and had a STEM program. The Edgerton Center in Aurora travels the state and talks about trades, does demos, hosts camps. Most of the community colleges in Nebraska have things called the Verizon Camp, which is all these hands-on training opportunities. There's grants called Project Impact. The whole state is working on apprenticeships and sponsorships. Many people are collaborating and trying to get people to go into the trades. But what we learned is, youth today desire more hands-on, but they lack exposure to tools, equipment, and awareness of even these jobs. They can see them, but maybe at the younger ages, they're not seeing them enough. In addition, we have a shortage in Nebraska of industrial arts education teachers or shop teachers. So while it's not formally documented through research, I've also heard from a variety of those re-careering that came to my office as a career counselor, speaking about the fear of learning something new and the lack of a foundational knowledge of tools. So if you're not exposed to tools and given opportunities to take things apart, rebuild, construct, problem solve, you don't know if you enjoy it. And if you're a high school student, you don't want to be the person who's not good at something. Okay. You want to be good at it, or you want to like not have people know that you're a beginner. So what can we do to get more exposure to students? And so the Central Nebraska Workforce Group developed a concept that focuses on 5th through 8th graders. While it's not an immediate fix to workforce shortages that ultimately impacts housing shortages for people to build, Central Nebraska Workforce came up with the long-term concept called Trades on the Move. Janelle and Jim are writing me while I'm speaking to you, so I'm apologizing that my phone, if there's beeping coming through to you. Trades on the Move is a trailer of tools and equipment that, alongside with the Edgerton Center, if you haven't heard of the Edgerton Center, it's a museum, not a museum, it's an interactive program and museum, like children's museum, but more for the middle-aged and high school students in Aurora. That was curriculum based through MIT. And through the Edgerton Center, we have made a contract that they will find an educator who will travel the state and do short programming that will last 1 to 4 hours, promoting the trades, providing hands-on experience, product reminders, meaning like they'll build something that's a keepsake to like kind of remind them, specifically for 5th through 8th graders in Nebraska. So we kind of see this as the educator will be driving, have the trailer, and will be kind of helping students at a younger age understand that learning a trade is kind of like a sport, and maybe you don't know everything about it, but let's explore. Let's try it so that maybe they'll be comfortable trying it in school. Maybe they'll want to have some tools at home. Maybe they'll want like a cheaper tool set. Maybe they'll start doing some building and taking apart of things. The goal is just to build that exposure, and through that kind of insert that there's opportunities, as you get older in apprenticeships, there's opportunities for you to be paid with hands-on work, enabling students to kind of earn while they learn type thing. There's affordability through the college opportunities to kind of build your skills. It's not that you're going to have to pay thousands of dollars to go into this program of study. There's might be opportunities to have it fully paid for. So ideally, Trades on the Move will inform about the trades. It will motivate 5th through 8th graders through hands-on experience and provide a bit of persuasion about trades and living in the state of Nebraska through discussions and reflection about where do they want to live? What type of job do they want? What do they like to do? The cost of living, the earnings potentials, the cost of college, the job outlook, and then correlate it all back to the trades and the value of Nebraska and the growth of Nebraska. So Trades on the Move has, as Sharon said, has a proposed budget. We have Edgerton signed up to help build the curriculum. We have an estimate for purchasing of a trailer. We have the plans to hire 1 to 2 educators. That's kind of where we are right now. It's not in full motion. We have it to take it to lots of places, but if you have ideas about the trailer, about curriculum, or you want to get involved or be a sponsor, you're welcome to reach out. If you know Sharon, you can reach out to Sharon. She'll get you connected with Jim or I, or I can share, I'll put my phone number, my contact information in the chat. I apologize. Today I'm in cubicle land and there's a lot of conversation. So if they came through the microphone, I'm really sorry. I'm usually at home.
Michelle, we did not hear a word, so you're
Oh, good.
perfectly fine. So thank you for sharing that. As I hear you and reflect back on what Angela said, I thought, what a perfect combination this could be if through Spark or through a Spark Academy in another community, you develop the developers, and then you've got Trades on the Move training your students who eventually go into those trades. And what a perfect environment that would be for a community or a region. So yeah. So any other questions for Angela or Michelle about what she shared today? Or even comments?
Angela, I tried to decrease the amount of me trying to say spark the idea. I was like, oh, that's almost, I better make sure I don't overly say spark. We want to spark the interest in 5th through 8th graders to go into the trades.
There's no per usage fee, so you're fine. You can use it as much as you want.
Okay. Well, I think they're both great programs. So
I really hope that people are thinking. You know, we have some great programs in here later this year. Will be, or in the next few months, I hope we're hearing about what's going on at Mid Plains Community College and some of that. But I really hope, and if you have some ideas, you can go ahead and share them now, get them out there so you can get us going too. Those you know, brain juices. But I hope you're thinking about maybe we can partner with the community college. Maybe we can partner with whatever that is, our public school, or, you know, I love this whole CODA idea, and we've been working on how to work in communities. Something that came out of our Central Region Housing Group was how to do cleanup and rehab of some of these vacant homes, these long-term vacant homes and chronically vacant. And so I'm thinking about the whole CODA thing and going, you know, so already I'm really, it's got me going. And today I don't need more ideas. I have too many browsers open already, but I would love to hear if some of you are like, you know, I think we could take this and do something with it. I just appreciate what you guys have shared, you gals have shared, and to get us started.
Mary has a question about the Trades on the Move. Are you looking at the entire state of Nebraska to deploy that program? What's kind of in the mix, or
I
thoughts
I started to type, but I'm going to stop because I can verbalize it probably better. The goal is that we're going to have one trailer to start, and the focus might be central to Nebraska just to get it started. It doesn't have to be. We're not going to micromanage it to just central Nebraska. We're going to leave it open. And if we decide that there's a need for more trailers, that has been in the discussion to have more trailers and more educators. But because of the programs that already exist across the state, as Sharon was talking about partnerships and things like that, there is still the goal of like, okay, what if that trailer can't come? But many of the community colleges have simulators and heavy equipment and welding and some automotives and things like that. Can we start them like, okay, I can't get to you yet, but I'm going to bring you this program instead, that type of thing.
Okay, thank you. What other questions, thoughts, comments that you'd like to share today with our speakers, or just with the group in general? What's on your mind? Well, as we're thinking through that, I just want to say thank you to both of our presenters today. Josh, would you mind putting Angela's contact information back up, please? Go back a couple slides. There you go. Thank you. You know, so if you want to reach out to Angela at Spark and talk more about the Developer Academy, we've put her contact information as well as Deanna's there. So great information to put. Do people have Rolodexes anymore? I don't know, but in your electronic files, tuck that away, because I think you're probably going to want to talk with them more in the future. And Michelle, thank you for that bonus presentation of Trades on the Move. I think that's exciting. So I greatly appreciate the time of both of you. For next month, feel free to join us. Our next webinar is going to be on March the 20th at 2 o'clock again, Central Time. And we'll be right back here. So our previous webinars, including today's webinar, is going to be posted on our website probably by Monday. So you can check that out at HomeNE.us. And just to reiterate what Sharon mentioned, we'd love to hear your ideas. You know, we're 78 webinars into this. 7 years ago, we did our first webinar on February 15th of 2018. And we've consistently been able to find ideas either through conferences or talking to people. But if you have something in your neighborhood, it doesn't even have to be a success. It could be a lesson learned. We'll do the heavy lifting in developing that webinar idea. But we'd love to hear from you. What is something you'd want to see on a future HomeNE webinar? We would like to just hear from you. So you can see Sharon's contact information as well as mine there on the screen. So Any last thoughts from either our presenter or Michelle or any of you?
Just wanted to say thanks for having us.
Anybody
Our
have any
pleasure.
poll on seeing that it'll be warmer next time we join here? Because if you do, I'd like you to work on that.
I'll send
I
a
can't-
message to Mother Nature right now.
Perfect.
I can't guarantee, but they're saying 60 for a high sometime next week here. So this snow will be a faint memory by then, I hope. So yeah, I do want to just point out before people start signing off that Judy Peterson from North Platte put um, a story about Mid Plains Community College Ready to Work program. And so we've been kind of pursuing a little bit of that. So we hope to maybe offer something along those lines in the future. But that one got me really excited last year, I believe, when I kind of heard that presentation at NIFA, that they're working with alternative high school students in Ogallala. And I think maybe they're going to start building some tiny homes. Don't quote me on that, but they're doing some pretty amazing things out there. So those are the kinds of things we want to know and hear about in your area. So, okay. Once again, thank you,
Michelle.
Angela. Oh, yes, Randall.
Michelle, be careful. What is that? It's not nice to mess with Mother Nature. You remember that old commercial? You're too young, but I'll tell you about it.
Okay, well, if no other thoughts or comments, thank you once again for joining us. Thank you, Angela and Michelle. And we look forward to having all of you back here again on March the 20th. And have a great rest of your day.
Thank you
for
all.
joining us.